I agree that it needs addressing.
So it feels like it does need addressing.
Yeah, it does. But it's almost a rule that it shuts it down.
Yeah.
Talking business with a page of blenders.
Oh, I couldn't see the blenders. Oh, that's a shame.
Studio smoothie maker.
Yep. Did I act that too much? So I've worked at White Paper Games almost pretty much since its inception. I was basically one of the sort of founding team members of our project Ether One, and just been working here since. The new project, we wanted to raise the bar on what we were able to do with characters. Like in our previous project, The Occupation, it was the first time we'd handled characters, and there was a lot of things that we could have done better, both from a technical standpoint and also from an artistic standpoint. So we've tried to sort of hone in on what we can use through our character creation process from a production standpoint to keep it as simple and streamlined as possible, so that, you know, with the size of the team that we have, which is just too small to have like a ton of animators and a ton of people working on this, just keeps things as easy and as barrierless as possible. When we finished The Occupation, the team shrank a little bit, and we worked on our current project for quite a few months actually now, almost even a year, I would say, just as a small team of 4 or 5 people. And now we've expanded. I want to say there's 9 of us, I think, and maybe 10. 12? There's 12 of us? Okay, well, there's 12 of us. I guess I bridge a little bit between art and animation, so I sort of have to handle both sides a little bit. So it's just been a case of like, number one thing that's quite nerve-wracking is exposing our work and our processes to people that have been working in other studios or things like that, and then they might come in and go, okay, well, this is like a really crappy system. Thankfully, it's not happened. Thankfully, everyone's been pretty happy with the tools that we've been able to make. But there's also sort of like a mentorship side to it now, where for newer people coming in, especially if they're we've got like a couple of graduates that have joined the team, so just helping them sort of understand production and how, you know, where and when to do things and how to be as organized as possible within our means. I think that's been a challenge, and I think it's something that we definitely wanted to improve on from what we did in The Occupation. I feel like we've done a much better job with it. The need and the want to have a much tighter script and understand all the pieces of it way sooner in the project. That's something that with The Occupation we left till really late, and we were hoping that was a good way of sort of organically allowing the game to sort of show us what the story should be, but it also ended up becoming super hard to manage production and understand like when we should be doing one thing over another, and it just got really messy. So with this project, it's a lot more concise and tight, and the script, we know the A, B, C's of it, and we still have room for like that organic iteration, but we have a much more holistic view and understanding of the story for every single team member than we did before. When I started White Paper Games, we started working on Ether One, and we were basically, me and OJ were the 2 environment artists, and we were producing all the artwork. I was doing all the VFX and stuff as well, just because that's the stuff I'm more comfortable with compared to OJ. So I'd never touched characters, and then The Occupation, we really wanted to sort of do that one up and make characters and set them up, and we'd never done it, so I took that on. I was really excited. I made a ton of mistakes all over the place, which made production hard for everyone. So a big focus for me this time around was to make sure that didn't happen, and I think we've done that really well. Like we've been able to work around the sort of production schedule of getting the characters online, but still being able to animate and do everything the way we should. We just wanted to do something that was more nuanced, I guess, and being able to notice the little things that, you know, add life to a character that, you know, we maybe just miss with the occupation just because we were just too green on it. The illusionist for us has been a really big driving force from a lot of points of view. One from art and animation, and again, like me being that sort of bridge that connects the two. It's been allowing animation to explore and evolve all of that kind of stuff. So the influences for the character creation have been greatly bound to what we've had in influences for animation and what we've had for art, and sort of that combination of both. Influences like for the look of the character and that kind of stuff, we always tend to sort of go, okay, well, what's the character like? What's the character about? And then we try to find references in films and things, and try to pick out things that stand out to us, that sort of show that character, and try to bring that in. So, you know, we'll get specific actors or other animated characters or drawings or anything that we like, okay, this is conveying this type of emotion and thing, that's the type of character that the character that we're making is, and that's where we draw from.
Should I say my last name? I guess I probably should. Have people generally said their last name or no? Hi, I'm Rob, and who am I? Yeah, who am I? So our last game was, in terms of the animation, was fairly muted in style. There was nothing too over-exaggerated, it was fairly close to realism. And this time I wanted to tackle something that was a bit further away from realism and a bit more exaggerated in terms of the characters' movements and how they portray themselves throughout the game. When our artist OJ was researching and developing the art style of the next project, he looked quite heavily at a film called The Illusionist, a 2D hand-animated film. And I think he was drawn to the sort of the architecture and the watercolor style that it has. And when I saw the animation on there, there are a few elements that I thought looked really cool. So depending on the importance of the character in the scene, they'll have a different frame rate or a different fidelity to them. So background characters that aren't the main focus of the scene will sometimes just have a couple of frames moving between one pose to another, whereas the main characters will be fully animated to higher fidelity. So pulling from that idea, I wanted to break our cast or our characters down into sort of different levels of importance throughout each scene. And we ended up with a rule of, or at least following the rule, where the closer something is to the camera or the more important a character is, the higher fidelity their animations would be. We looked at our characters and we broke them down into 3 different categories. So we have the primary, the secondary and the tertiary characters. So the primary characters are the cast that you interact with in the game, in the main playable space. The secondary are people who you don't interact with, but they're still within that main playable space, maybe in areas that you can't quite reach, but you can see them. And tertiary characters are just characters that are way in the background that just give the world some life. The previous facial rigs that we had they weren't bad in any way. They were quite good, in fact, but they were sort of a series of predefined shapes on each of the attributes of the face, and you'd have to combine these and blend them together to get different facial poses. And we realized quite quickly that it wouldn't give us any of the fidelity control, the exaggerated expressions that we want to go for. And so we looked at developing this facial rig into something where we had more minute control over every aspect of the face, where each one of the controllers has smaller controllers within it that allow you to really make a more appealing face shape.